You're listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast, hosted by Rudy Ruiz. Spoiler alert.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Drinks in a Movie podcast. We're in the second episode of our James Bond series. Today, I'm joined by co-host Matt Lackey once again.
Matt Lackey. Okay, I should do if I do it every episode, that won't get old, right?
And we're going to be talking about the second film in the series. This is From Russia with Love from 1963. Also directed by Terrence Young.
So just a year later, by the way.
Yep.
Okay.
So a lot of the same actors we got coming in. This movie does... Well, let's have our drink first. I keep jumping the gun every time. So for this one, we're going to be... come on now.
Well, we were going to be, but Rudy's having some issues.
We're going to be
a pat on the ass or a...
We're going to be continuing our Weller core lineup here. We are drinking Weller Antique 107. Once again, coming out of Buffalo Trace. This is their wheated bourbon mash bill.
You did a tasting. Did you put us to tasting? Did you do a video on these?
I did, yeah.
Okay, that's why they're looking familiar to me. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, now it's coming back to me.
And I did a blind of this with the Cove single barrel pick of it.
Nice.
So this is the regular one, but yeah, Weller Antique 107. Obviously 107 proof, as the name would suggest. It's the red label. I think SRP on this is like 50, 60, but you're probably not finding it for under $150, if not more.
So there you go.
Yeah.
The Weller markup.
Oh God, already the nose right out the gate's way better.
Oh.
So of the lineup, of the four like core lineup, Antique 107 has always been my favorite.
Okay.
It's just like is perfectly in the pocket.
So it's got all of I'm getting some cinnamon. I'm getting that sweetness, but it's turned up. Like the volume has been turned up on the things that I was getting in the Special Reserve.
Yeah. Yeah, really, you can tell it's the same exact DNA. Everything just souped up.
Dude, literally, like the volume's been turned up on it. Damn.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, cheers. For context, too, we literally just tasted the Special Reserve in the last episode, so we're recording these back to back, and that's
yeah,
it's not the same.
I feel like I get more of the cherry sweetness on this one, plus. How I was talking about how the Special Reserve came off light in the beginning. This one, like,
not at all.
Hits you right out the gate.
And it's definitely some cinnamon for me. Like, there's that spice or whatever, that heat up front, but it's got flavor. It's not just heat to be heat. Oh man, God damn it! Now there goes another $100 and something down the drain. I'm sure at some point.
Yeah, it's worth getting if you find it for the right price. And I think the Cove Cocktail Bar. Recently, because I didn't see it on their bottle menu anymore because I wanted to buy one for the keep at the bar.
Yeah.
But their single barrel version of like their single barrel pick of this is off the wall. It's like one of the best bourbons, and they do it non-chill filtered, so you get even more of that souped up flavor. And it's clear, I did a blind tasting of this one and that bottle because I got one. Thank you, Greg. And you can, because I always wondered too, I'm like, how much of a difference does like chill filtering really make? And yeah, it makes a difference.
Oh, does it
like,
really? Okay.
Yeah.
So the recipe is the same then? If you're getting
it's exactly the same. It's just a single barrel, because these are just like the blends.
Yeah, totally.
But then, without the chill filtering to take out some of the fats and amino acids, like that loses a little bit of the flavor.
Oh, got it.
So it's just a little more souped up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like if this is a volume 10, then that's like 11.
Yeah,
which is like just the point above.
Just enough to make you want a little bit.
Yeah.
Where do they sell it? What's a shot of that?
Oh, over there, I want to say like 12, 15. Okay, it's not too much.
So if you're ever in SoCal, the Cove, man, reasonable prices on all of their pours.
Yeah, I should know it by heart because when I go, that's my go-to.
That's your go-to.
That's the one I always get.
That'll definitely be my next one. Just after tasting this, that's going to be my next one. This is great, man. Thanks for sharing, dude. This is delicious.
So, let's talk about it. From Russia with Love.
Only the second James Bond thriller could be more exciting than the first. Krylenko. So he's back. Another Bulgaria they use as a killer. Take a look. You should remember him. This man kills for pleasure. James Bond, that notorious, amazing Dr. No secret agent, is back, and half the world is out to kill him. As he pits his murderous talents against the Iron Curtain and its velvet women. Well, I'll tell you something, Colturni. You're one of the most beautiful girls I've ever seen.
I think my mouth is too big.
No, it's the right size. For me, that is.
From Russia with love comes Tatiana, bait for the trap. From the four corners of the world come the men and women who play a deadly, dangerous game of espionage.
Do not be alarmed, my friend. We will make you as comfortable as possible.
Ali Kerim Bey, head of Station T, Turkey. Krasnogransky, codename Grant, chief executioner of Spectre.
My orders are to kill you and deliver the lecter. All I do, it's my business.
M of British Secret Service. The woman called Rosa Klebb, playing a double cross.
Glad.
Romanova, the door. Romanova!
From Russia with love. They dance for him. They yearn for him. They die for him. From Zagreb to Sofia. From Venice to Istanbul. From Paris to London. Agent 007 cuts an inimitable path through the palaces and boudoirs of espionage.
James, you're hurting me.
I'll do worse than that if you don't tell me. I'm doing this under orders I know. And what are they?
Even if you kill me, I can say nothing.
You're trapped, Mr. Bond. You cannot escape.
So a lot of the same, folks returning. This was made the very next year. One cool thing
After Dr. No was a huge hit, they
doubled the budget. Oh, and also this was a big reason why they went with this one was because I guess in 1961, I think there was an article someone did on JFK where he listed his favorite novels, like top 10, and From Russia with Love was like high on the list.
Interesting.
So it was published to Life whatever magazine. I don't remember which one.
When millions of people were reading magazines. So.
Yeah, so there was it spiked the sales of the book. So they're like, all right, we got to do this movie ASAP.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of why they turned it around super quick. And then by this point, all those kind of tropes and everything that has been established in the first movie, we're continuing that. But now we're adding on even more. So
as we talk about turning the volume up on our bourbon here, that's literally what this movie feels like. Is all of the tropes you enjoyed in the first movie? Let's just make them all bigger and better.
Yeah. Well, and now we also get the cold open. So So we didn't even talk about in the first movie the cool gun barrel shot and the boom, which wasn't Sean Connery. I don't think until the fourth movie.
I was curious. I'm looking at him that doesn't look like Connery. Yeah, that looks like somebody else.
I think it was Bob Smith. He was a stunt guy for him. So they did it with that guy, cool. And they just recycled that footage. And I want to say Thunderball was when they used Connery because I think they had to reshoot it because now they were doing cinema scope, but.
The opening, well, I guess whatever you want to go first, cold opener titles, I'm totally down. But
yeah, well, I was just going to mention we have the cold open.
Yeah, we have a cold open. Yeah,
and this one we introduced who's going to be kind of the villain and the main villain of the movie, played by Robert Shaw. So his name is Red Grant. Okay, but played by Robert Shaw. Yeah. Now I saw Shaw's name in the credits. If you don't remember, he was T.S. Quint in Jaws.
Yeah,
and this is the only other movie I've seen.
It's the only one I know of. Yeah, but I'm like, oh, Jaws.
Yeah, but I remember seeing his name in the credits, and I'm like, oh, I'm interested to see when he pops up. I did not realize that this was him. So the whole movie, I'm like, man, when's Quint coming in this?
Oh, damn. And he's not wearing the beard and everything.
And he's got the blonde hair. Yeah. But at the end, when they're on the train, that's when I was like, oh, shit, that's him. I think I had to go on IMDb, and I was like, oh, he's that guy. Yeah. He's been in this whole movie.
Yeah, literally the whole movie. Well, and the way that he's established as a character, the way that he is at the end is a little bit weird. Anyway, yeah. The way that they establish him is this almost like a psycho at the beginning of the movie, and then we see him so controlled a little bit later on. I thought that was kind of interesting. So, but I didn't put it together. I mean, I knew that it was the same character, but it feels a little different by the end of the movie than in the beginning. That's just my point.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, you seem like he's going to be more of a hardcore killer, but really, and what is kind of cool. And I think maybe this would have played a little better if it was in a later film. But to me, he's essentially like a shadow Bond.
Yeah,
he's exactly. He's the Spectre version of Bond. So that scene with them at the end on the train in their boat doing the spy thing and playing each other, and the fight's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Like all that was actually pretty cool.
Oh, it was great.
You know?
Yeah.
And I know. Sorry, we just jumped right
into
it. But also what I wasn't expecting too was like really the big end. I mean, we get the apartment fight with Klepp or whatever, and there's like the planes, but we don't, ultimately to me, it really ends with like the train.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting because I guess I figured or assumed every movie was going to be like a lair, like some kind of base and missiles and a control panel and the big villain, which I imagine is going to be a lot of them.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Like just the train and the two of them and whatnot was pretty awesome.
So I got to say, to take it back a little bit, because we live in a world where we have 3 Austin Power movies. And those movies hit me at a really right point as a person. And I've watched those movies so many times. I know all the jokes. Is there 4? I don't remember how many Austin 3. But the first half an hour of this film, I'm like, oh my God, this is every single thing in Austin Powers. So
I texted you about it, right? I think I sent you a text, or maybe that was someone else, where I was like, I just can't help but laugh because it's literally like the fucking scene.
You didn't text me that. That's so funny. Because it's all I kept thinking of, like, oh, this is where Myers gets it. And by the way, it's good by itself, but then just having that, like, that context to it just makes me, you can't help but laugh at all these different things. Comes up in the next movie too. We'll talk, with the hat and everything. So like the do with the hat. So the first half an hour, I was just laughing most of the first half an hour, just to let you know.
No, same.
As they're establishing this whole, the Russian parts of Spectre, if you will.
Yeah.
So learning about number 1 and number 3, and number 5, and all these different numbers. Number 11.
Well, and on that tip too, I was thinking about this because, I do this other movie review show with this old guy, Fred, for work, where I'll pick a film, he'll pick a film, we'll discuss it together, and he's like in his 70s or whatever. So
it's
called Real Generation Gap. So it's about how our different perspectives.
Yeah, that's cool.
But he'll pick these old comedies, man, that just don't land for me. Like the most recent one was Murder by Death. I don't know if you saw that, 76. But
have you guys watched Some Like It Hot? Like there are some movies from that time period that still do make me laugh.
Yeah, no, I believe it. And then we've done a couple like that. But there's been a few where I'm like, and with that, it's kind of a parody of some stuff. But I was like, I didn't know that till after when I did the research. Then it was kind of funny, but still. I was like, I feel like it needs to stand on its own regardless. Like you shouldn't need to do homework.
Dr. No is a great example. We laughed at that movie just because of how much fun it is.
Exactly. And it made me think, because I was also just laughing and thinking about Austin Powers. And that has always, like, I knew it was a parody of like Bond and stuff, but I didn't know to the
We thought they were making fun of the tropes that we were living through with Brosnan and all those kind of, because that was the generation of Bond. Yeah. But he wasn't. He was literally making fun of the entire. And I should say, I almost feel like after watching, I'm like, oh, dude, he just like flat out homaged it, and it ended up being funny, like so.
Because you could almost do it like line for line.
Literally
the same shit. But
I don't think he changed it that much. There's always this line about great writers borrow, or good writers borrow, great writers just steal outright. So
but I was gonna say, it's like even being young and seeing the Austin Powers movie, like that's one that did stand on its own, where everything worked regardless of me never seeing these movies. So I just wanted to point that out. But it is still kind of cool. Like
great.
This is one where it is pretty much like a direct sequel, because we see that Bond is with Sylvia Trench, she's back, and they're like,
I'm like, oh damn.
And I guess
which has happened in other Bonds, but not very often. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna pop up from time to time, but and apparently the idea was that she would be a recurring character, cool. So she would be like his actual girlfriend, and then she's always like, oh, you got to go away again.
Have Bond as an acronym of actual girlfriend. I just don't see how that would work nowadays.
Well, it's an open relationship. I think was the idea.
It's not exclusive.
The things I do for England.
We'll say it's a modern relationship. It's not, it's not a traditional relationship.
But yeah, like she's back, and even when we meet, and this is the first, introduction, we don't see his face or anything, but a Blofeld. Mm-hmm. So the leader, number 1, the leader of Spectre, the White Cat. You don't see his face, you just hear his voice. And and they've referenced like, oh, Dr. No was killed and they ruined the mission, and we got to go get this guy. And I do kind of like the way this sequence was put together with the guy playing chess. He's like a grandman, and then the message in his cup, and he's like, I gotta go. And him and I think Klepp is the lady number 11 or something, and So they're tasked to do this mission. And I guess originally, so they say that she works for SMERSH, which is like real, I think, Soviet intelligence.
Yeah, it sounds like it was, yeah.
And I guess they changed it because they didn't, it's Cold War times. Right. They didn't want to make a thing. So that's why they created Spectre as kind of the fictional global thing. But, she's doing both, like secret. And it's kind of interesting that there's all these like people that work for Spectre that are in all these other places and industries, but they all are like tied into this like evil organization. Kind of neat, man.
And I feel like that's one of those things that kind of actually had to influence or has influenced a lot of what comes after this, because like in the 2000s, literally you would just say Al Qaeda, or you'd say, you wouldn't even bother with the pseudonyms or anything like that. But it does work for this, and that's the one thing I try to put myself in that place in that time, like 63, because Cold War is like, nuclear war is legitimately, I mean, my dad and my mom, we talk about it all the time, like, oh yeah, you literally thought, the world was going to end the next day, somebody presses the button, we're all done. So you got those undercurrents and those tones. I still think regardless of what the hell you call it, I think it still works. And they do, speaking of the chess match, like you get the feeling like this is everywhere. Like they do a good job with very short amount of time establishing that you get the feeling they're everywhere. Kind of thing. So, and you'll see that throughout
worldwide. Yeah.
Because they do actually go, globetrotting in this one. So,
yeah, I'm going to do the synopsis real quick. So this is just right off the top of IMDb. So let's see. James Bond is on the search for a Russian decoding machine known as the Lecter. Bond needs to find this machine before the evil Spectre organization discovers it. While being romantically linked with the Russian girl Tatiana Romanov, Bond sneaks his way around Istanbul, and this is giving off a little too much. But Red Grant is after him. And this was kind of interesting too. How we see Klett go to Spectre Island or whatever, where they're like training all their evil soldiers, which is funny.
Right.
But then they recruit Red Grant, and I do like that moment when she's like walking around him and puts the brass knuckles on and like punches him. It is like, all right, he's good.
That's so funny. The moment I thought it was like the first, that's a different scene. But when we go to the island, the first thing we see is a woman taking off her shirt and stuff. And I'm just like, that's the one thing, by the way, and I don't mean to harp on it, but it literally makes me chuckle and smile every time. It seemed like 5 or 10 minutes, somebody was taking off their clothes in this movie, which, by the way, I'm all for. I think that's awesome. And it's those things. It's like they didn't shy away from giving things keep the audience interest, keep them, and this is. It's consistent with what we saw in Dr. No. Like, this is the world Bond lives in. These kind of things happen. And I just bravo to the team for doing that and keeping me in. And it doesn't seem out of place. It doesn't seem gratuitous because you've already established that this is the world. So there you go. Even though it probably is gratuitous. I don't care.
Yeah. Especially when they have the fight. Oh, these two girls need the fight.
Oh, but that part, that was the... I literally
just got to watch.
Oh, man. I know we're jumping ahead, but I could not stop laughing because there's this girl fight. And then everyone starts shooting.
Yeah. Then they get attacked. And
oh, my God.
In the end, it's like, oh, Bond, you survived. It's like, here, you can have them both.
And then that's the prize for Bond surviving, not getting shot. Like what just happened?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you've got to decide who wins, so you get the ticket.
Come on, they had to know that was going to be funny. Like that, definitely has to be a funny thing. I mean, he delivers it with a smile on his face.
Yeah, it's all too like, and I feel like people might want to deny this or whatever, but again, I mentioned how it's very much like they're playing to the audience. That like we know it's like a dude's brand, right? And then you're gonna lean into that, and it really is like Bond in a weird way, or not even a weird.
No,
it's like a fantasy character, man.
Right.
Like,
it is
like exactly. You're not gonna tell me like any person, any dude that's like watching this, like, God, you want to be Bond, man.
Right.
Like, you want to wear the dope suits. Yeah. You just want to know all kinds of random shit like beluga caviar. And, I like warm sake, especially when it's served at the right temperature, 98.4 degrees. And just like Smith and Wet, like know everything about everything and travel and be super cool. Apparently, he speaks fluent Japanese too. We learned that in one of the movies. So, and being able to just like charm his way into anything.
And to take the flip side of that, yes, you can make the argument that these are unrealistic, or they're unrealistic as characteristics men should aspire to. Sure, you can make that argument, but that's not the point. The point is that they are literally there's a certain mocking, jovial tone to it. Like it's playful. It's fun. I think that's one of the reasons why these movies have survived. And why, by the way, when you look back, a lot of the historical reviews of these things nowadays are actually, when they're looking at it as a piece of history, they're very complimentary of it, that they're establishing this time and place.
Yeah.
And this is what, what it was. Yeah. Which, and I think that's actually, it makes it even more funny to me that like this was at a time period, this is what what we thought men should aspire to or whatever,
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even that you need to aspire to it, but it's just that like,
this is the fantasy. Fantasy.
If you could press a button and have a bunch of those attributes, 9 times out of 10, you're pressing it, Yeah. But the other good thing about him as a character is he is fallible too. Oh, He's not always some kind of like superhero. Like he'll get run up on, too, he'll get, shit will happen to him. Like, he's going to save the day in the end. But
doesn't he? I think he gets knocked out in every single movie so far we've seen.
Yeah, he always is like a prisoner.
At some point, there's going to be a prison where he has to.
Someone's going to hit him in the back of the head.
Or gas or whatever the hell it's going to be. So yeah.
But I wanted to go back to the opening title sequence again.
Oh yeah, we skipped that. Damn.
Yeah, we don't. We have the cold open, and then we have another cool. And I feel like now we're really in the tradition of like an interesting. Awesome. The projectors, oh my God, the colors. So cool. I'm like, wow, that's like a really dope idea.
Was not expecting that. And I'm like, they had to have filmed that. That's in camera.
Yeah, exactly. So, all in camera, man. And
kind of wonder what speed film they were running on because you can barely, at least on the print I had, you can barely make out some of the things, but just enough you can see. Yeah. It's super cool.
Yeah. And we haven't started the score. The music is really great.
Oh my God.
It might be my second favorite so far. But we're not quite into the tradition yet of like the singer, the songs, what I mean, the actual song. But yeah, it's pretty cool, man. And I was gonna say I do like this whole sequence of Klep recruiting Red Grant and then going to Tatiana, basically blackmailing her, you know, to do this. And I didn't quite like that. I don't know. I probably have to see it again, and maybe it would make a little more sense. But I didn't quite like that she just like, oh, I fell in love with you for real and all that. I'm like, all right.
Well, I agree with you. And in addition to that, I wasn't quite sure if I even believed it because once again, this is where I think sometimes, at least for me, the movie is a victim of its own world it's created. Like, how do I believe any of this? Like, how do I buy for all I know, Bond has literally fallen in love with every woman he slept with, or you can look at the opposite. He just, maybe he's never found somebody he's going to settle down with for the rest of his life. Just not the type of person he is. So when there was this love part, I'm like, really? I bumped on that too. I was actually like, it was tough to completely believe or buy into that was kind of the thing that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
And then, I mean, in the end, we know it's legit when she ends up being the one to save him, with the poison knife foot thing. Which I did like that little twist when they kill the chess guy with it. That you fail, like Spectre doesn't tolerate failures. And then they give her a chance.
He gets kicked instead of her.
Yeah.
Blade on the shoe. Another Austin Powers reference. I mean, this is I can't look at any of these without,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it's an Austin Powers reference. Austin Powers homage.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But, yeah. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention early on in the movie is now we enter Desmond Llewellyn, the actor that would play Q.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All the way up through, I believe, the 90s.
My Q.
All the way
all
up.
of the Pierce Brosnan films. It says till 99 because I think at some point. But
so that's all of it.
I was expecting to see like a young Q. He already has gray hair.
Dude, that was so surprising to me too. I'm like, dude, you were always old. And now we step it up a little bit with the gadgets. We're not getting too crazy yet, but he's got the suitcase with the gas.
Yeah.
And
now we're starting to get into it. Yes.
Red has the watch with the.
You have to open the suitcase at the certain way at the same time and everything, which comes into play later.
Yep.
That's one thing I always appreciate that stuff, but why show us this shit if it's not going to pay off later? And it most definitely pays off later.
And it's always exactly what he needs. Of course. But it's just funny how that we're going to set you up with this stuff and it's going to be exactly what you needed.
Okay, I was trying to think. I thought there was I didn't realize it was the Orient Express they were writing. Did they mention it in the movie?
I think they did.
Okay, damn. I totally I didn't bump on that. So the train sequence is pretty good though. It's pretty fun. All of the different parts that are moving and pieces that are being put into place for.
Yeah. And I was very sorry.
No. And then it's not the final confrontation, but it feels like it. It feels like this is the movie bringing everything together for the final moments, even though it's not. But it feels like it. So.
The other character, I'm gonna go to the train, but I have to bring this up first. Is Karen Bay, his dude that's like helping him out there. Who's like kind of not partnered up with.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, and he gets
killed on the train, but He was a good kind of character with Bond, and they also had really good chemistry.
Is he a gypsy? Is he a gypsy?
I think so.
Yeah,
that's
the leader
why
of the gypsies.
Yeah, that's why they go to the camp.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, he was great, actually. I was kind of bummed to see him get bumped off.
It was too bad. Off-screen kill, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how he's like, oh, I got to get revenge on that guy. They just go and they snipe him from and then Bond is like, should have kept her mouth shut. Right? So in this movie, I feel like in Dr. No, we didn't get a lot of like those quips.
Those one-liners.
But this movie is where, and I wish I remembered all of them, but it's like after any kill or something, he'll say, some shit about it.
This is definitely it.
Yeah, it's a lot of them, and they're all hilarious.
Yeah, they're literally all dumb. Not dumb, but funny.
Yeah. But everything on the train, like, and I wasn't expecting it to go that way because, like you said, Grant in the beginning is like seems like a psycho killer, right? Like
they even say he's a psychopath that we've conditioned him to do this and that, So.
But when he comes into the train, and because of that, I wasn't expecting it to go this way.
He's so controlled. He sounds like an agent.
He's just like, oh yeah, I'm Nash. He's like, yeah, I'm Nash, and he knows like the little password or whatever, and they're doing all the shit and drugs, and and it builds up just the right amount of time into the fight. And I love that it's Bond who is catching on to these. I knew there was something with the red wine and fish or whatever because he knows his pairing. Yes. But when they put her down, he's like, yeah, she must be exhausted, and he's like, yeah. All right, let's go into the living room, and he like closes the door and locks it and points the gun. I just love that.
No hesitation. I'm surprised he didn't shoot him.
Yeah.
In all fairness.
But their whole dynamic and that whole scene is great. It was just cool, like I said earlier, to see the kind of, shadow Bond.
And I think it's a good example of like you can build up so much tension. This movie specifically, have you ever seen North by Northwest, Hitchcock?
I haven't.
Okay. So I feel Hitchcock was great at, hold the bomb under the table. The bomb goes off, it's action. But if the suspense of it, all about the suspense. And I felt like there was a lot of North by Northwest in this film, in some of even the shots, and even more so in the next film. But like just that building up, you don't have to have people punching each other to create suspense and to create a moment and to create tension for the audience. That scene, so good. And then it goes back and forth a couple different times, even when we finally get to something actually happening, when somebody shoots somebody, or when all those things start happening. So I was like, man, well done, and it really good and established. Well, you'll see it in some future films. I'll just tell you.
And they really kind of set all this, like even from the beginning when he's getting briefed on the mission. And we're seeing it from the perspective of Spectre, of like, oh, we got to get her, and we're going to play this whole little game. And then when M is briefing him, and he's like, it sounds like a trap, and he's like, yeah, it's definitely a trap. But so let's go and like, we know it's a trap, so let's go in and see what's up. And even, I forgot to mention, there's another scene here where he goes to his hotel and he's like checking for bugs.
Yep.
Doing and he finds one, and he's like, oh.
Picture thing, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, all we have is the wedding suite. But that was like all part of the plan.
Yeah, all part of the plan.
Which like, oh, that's pretty neat.
I'll take it.
But yeah, I don't have much else to say on this one. I feel like it really levels everything up more. And I think ultimately I probably like it a little more than Dr. No.
Same here. I enjoyed it a little bit more. It's so important to appreciate and respect what Dr. No established, because this movie doesn't happen without that. But it just took all those things and leaned into the stuff that they knew they must have known, or that they felt was working for the audience. Yeah. And just smart choice after smart choice as far as all of it goes.
So. All right. That's a wrap on this one. Yeah. Cheers.